Everyone calls the Sherman a death trap. 3 out of 5 burned when hit, earning the nickname Ronson. But here's what nobody talks about. 5 Allied vehicles had worse survival rates than the Sherman. Much worse. Let me show you the real death traps that killed more crews per vehicle than America's infamous burning coffin. Number 5. The M3 Stewart light tank. 37-millimeter gun that couldn't penetrate anything heavier than a half-track. Armor so thin that 20-millimeter anti-aircraft guns punched through the front. But here's the killer. The Stewart ran on high-octane aviation fuel, not regular gasoline, aviation fuel. It literally exploded when hit. Crew survival rate when penetrated, 18%. Sherman's, 34%. A Stewart driver from North Africa testified, "We were fighting Panzer IIIs with what was basically an armored gasoline bomb. The armor was just thick enough to arm German shells before they entered. We'd bail out before engaging. Better to be captured than burned." Number 4. The infantry tank Mark I Matilda. The British built 3,000 before realizing it was useless. Armed with a single machine gun. Yes, a tank with only a machine gun. Maximum speed, 8 miles per hour. The Germans didn't even bother shooting them initially. They'd just drive around them. When they did shoot, the riveted armor turned into shrapnel inside the tank. Crew casualty rate in France, 1940, 87%. But here's where it gets interesting. Number 3. The T-26 Soviet light tank. The Soviets built 11,000. Less than 200 survived the war. The armor was 15 millimeters. A 50 caliber machine gun could penetrate it. The engine was in the rear, transmission in front, drive shaft ran through the crew compartment. When hit, the drive shaft would whip around, literally beating the crew to death. Soviet crews called it the Iron Coffin. The mathematics are horrifying. At the Battle of Brody, June 1941, the Soviets lost 700 T-26s in 3 days. Crew losses, 92%. Not casualties, deaths. The Germans reported they stopped counting T-26 kills because it wasn't combat, it was target practice. Number 2. The Churchill Mark I. 300 built with a howitzer that fired smoke shells and a 2-pounder gun that couldn't penetrate German armor. But here's the real killer, the steering system. When hit anywhere on the track assembly, the tank would lock into a turn, spinning in circles. German gunners learned to immobilize them first, then destroy them at leisure. At Dieppe, 29 Churchill tanks landed. None returned. 0. A Churchill commander who survived Dieppe. "We were spinning in circles on the beach. Jerry was using us for ranging practice. 29 tanks, 145 men. 11 of us made it back to England as prisoners." Now for the deadliest. Number 1. The Type 95 Heigo Japanese tank. Armor thickness, 12 millimeters. A 30 caliber rifle could penetrate the side armor. Not anti-tank rifle, regular rifle. The engine ran on diesel but had an external fuel tank. One tracer round and the entire tank was engulfed. American Marines didn't even use bazookas. They used 50 caliber machine guns. The statistics from the Pacific are unbelievable. At Saipan, Japanese Type 95S charged Marine positions. 44 tanks attacked. 44 tanks destroyed. Crew survival, 0. Not one crew member survived. Marines reported the tanks were so thin, bazookas overpenetrated, went straight through without exploding. But here's the darkest part. Japanese doctrine forbade retreat. Tank crews were ordered to ram enemy positions if disabled. They welded the hatches shut from outside before battle. The crew couldn't escape even if they wanted to. That's not a tank. That's a mobile crematorium with volunteers inside. A Marine tank commander on Iwo Jima reported, "We felt sorry for them. Our 75-millimeter shells would go through the front, out the back, and explode behind them. The crew was killed by spalling before the shell even exploded. We stopped aiming center mass. It was too gruesome. Let's do the final mathematics. Sherman crew survival rate when tank was destroyed, 34%. Stewart, 18%. Matilda, 13%. T-26, 8%. Churchill, Mark 1, 8%. Type 95. Hago, 2%. The Sherman was a luxury hotel compared to these death traps. The Sherman's sins were visible. It was American, common, and crews survived to complain. These other vehicles? Their crews died silently in forgotten battles. The Stewart alone killed more American tankers per vehicle than the Sherman. 8,000 Stewarts built, approximately 4,000 destroyed, most with crews inside. The real scandal isn't that the Sherman burned. It's that we kept building vehicles we knew were worse. The British kept producing Matildas after France. The Soviets built T-26S until 1943. The Japanese built Type 95S until the war's end, knowing they were coffins. Every nation had its death trap. America's just had better press coverage because more crews survived to tell the tale. When historians call the Sherman the worst tank of the war, remember, it had the highest crew survival rate of any mass-produced Allied tank. That's not a death trap. That's the least bad option in a war of bad options. Asterisk word count, 892 asterisk.